Greetings from Pandora. Welcome to A Vault Hunter's Guide to the Borderlands, Episode 1, the best Borderlands podcast on the Echo Net. I'm Drew.
I am Jeff.
And we could not be more excited to be bringing this to you. On this podcast, we're going to be discussing all things about all Borderlands games, and I'm super excited. This has been in the works for quite a while, and we're totally ready to go.
Yeah. So he said all things Borderlands. Admittedly, probably not as much on the pre-sequel. just because, if you're listening to this podcast, then you probably have a good indication of why. If you're just now discovering Borderlands and you decide to check out our podcast because of it, there are some things about the pre-sequel that are different from the other Borderlands games, but that is a whole other episode for another time. But right now, we're just gonna get into some stuff. But first, how was your last couple of weeks in Borderlands?
It's been good. It's been good. I spent the past several weeks playing the enhanced version of Borderlands 1.
The remaster.
The remaster. It's and I love it. My favorite part about it is the quality of life improvements, such as not having to physically press a button to pick up ammo and health and things like that.
It's such a small change, but it's so nice.
Right. I mean, when I first went from Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2, I was like, I ran over to the stuff and it just picked it up and I was like, what? This is the best. And now I have it in original Borderlands, and it's the best possible upgrade that they could have made, in my opinion.
I think, personally, I feel it is a close second. My personal favorite, just like quality of life thing that they changed is I'm just super excited that they finally gave us an option to buy the full amount of ammo that you need from the ammo vendors for each thing. So,
my quick question: why didn't they do that in the update to Borderlands 2?
I don't know. I have no idea. They really should have.
And most importantly, will that be coming in Borderlands 3 September 13th?
If it doesn't, it will. And I'm calling this now. If that does not have that in Borderlands 3. It will be the biggest gaming disappointment in history.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Yep.
So, I've been playing a lot of the remaster as well. I actually, and this might seem weird considering that, we're doing a whole podcast on it and everything, but I've actually started playing Roland, seriously for the first time, because I always just kind of overlooked him, it's just that when I started playing Borderlands, all the other characters just seemed so much cooler.
Sure, yeah, much more interesting. It's like you've got this guy who's got a bird that attacks people, and a dude who beats the crap out of people, and a woman who's got basically magical powers, and a soldier guy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. It's because they go through, in that opening screen, and they're like, "Hey, this is what your person does." It's like, all right, so Mordecai, he's got a bird, and he also uses sniper rifles and revolvers. So it's like, sweet, sniper rifles are dope, And then you've got Brick, where it just literally says, it's like, oh yeah, what kind of weapons does he like? It's like, well, explosive weapons and his fists. It's like, all right, awesome. Yeah. and then Lilith, where it's like elemental weaponry and SMGs, and then she does her whole phase shift thing, in the intro sequence and everything, and then it's and then it goes to Roland. It's like, Roland, soldier, shotguns and assault rifles. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just I'm not gonna knock Roland, because if you play him the right way, he can be hella fun. It's just, I can understand why people would not be as interested in that one. So, yeah, but anyway, so you've been playing through as Roland, and it's is it better than you expected?
It is better than I expected. Yeah, it is a little bit I might have to change it up. I might have to go through a couple of different builds, but right away, it's very satisfying to get into his early gun builds and everything.
Sure.
So just because you're able to build him to fire like so fast with the assault rifles and just have huge magazines and everything, and so yeah, I'm really excited for that. I don't foresee myself getting too much into doing stuff with his turret right away, but maybe as I play him a little bit more, I'll get a little bit more experimental with it. But either way, like I'm still having a lot more fun with it than I thought I would. So
good.
But I've been doing that. I've also been playing another build in the remaster with a sniper Lilith, which which for those of you listening, we're going to get into that. That's going to be the next episode. So as we're going to talk about different builds and everything. So it's a sneak peek of that. Drew will actually be covering Roland, and I'll actually be covering Lilith. So you'll get that. But yeah, I'm building that right now because she actually has a lot of stuff from her gun build stuff from like her SMG that transfers over really, really well to her sniper stuff as well. So
nice.
Yeah. So you actually just finished up your first playthrough of pre-sequel not too long ago, right?
I did, yeah. Yep, wrapped up my first playthrough of that, and at first I didn't really see what you were getting at when it came to, I don't like the pre-sequel as much because it's slower and it's kind of floaty, and I was like, well, that sounds dope. Huge ass jumps and whatever, and then you get into it and you're like, this really is not what I'm looking for in a Borderlands game.
Right. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it for the story aspect though, and I'm about halfway through the Claptrap DLC for that, and that's also fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was really... It took a while to get used to the general floatiness of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
it's an acceptable... You know what? I think that if I was going to introduce a brand new player to the Borderlands series, I think I would probably... I mean, not having 3 out at this point, I think I might actually go Borderlands 1, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then follow it up with the pre-sequel, and then Borderlands 2. So do it chronologically as far as actual, the actual timeline of the games.
Okay, yeah.
Because to me, like, Borderlands 1 is just a great intro to the series. Borderlands 2, it's like, hey, Borderlands... the pre-sequel, you get the cool, just the newer feel of it and everything, and the weapons, and just it's really nicely done. And then Borderlands 2 is the best of the 3, I would say at this point.
Right. Yep. So, and I would agree with you. And I think the nice thing about now we got to remember that when we're talking about this. Borderlands, the pre-sequel, was not actually made by Gearbox. To anyone listening, it was not made by Gearbox. They had their eye on it for sure, but that was actually 2K Australia that actually developed that one, and they're actually no longer even around.
Right, exactly.
So,
I mean, if that gives you any kind of indicator as to how well it was received.
Right. Yeah. So, and the other big thing is that from what we have seen, what we've seen from Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2, and then Borderlands 2, and hopefully Borderlands 3, or what we're seeing in Borderlands 3, it looks like they've learned every time from what they've done. And what I mean by that is, even as far as like my complaints initially about Roland and him not seeming as cool of a character, well, there's always been some kind of a quote unquote soldier class in every game.
Yeah.
Now, what's cool about that is I feel that they did make Axton, who's the soldier in Borderlands 2, way more interesting of a character than Roland in Borderlands 1. Right. They're, I mean, just from the sheer amount of skills that you have, there are a lot more different builds and stuff like that you can do, and that's cool. But also, at the same time, Mose, who is the soldier character in Borderlands 3, looks way cooler than any of the previous soldier classes.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. And speaking of Borderlands 3, that segues nicely into the news. So, as of this recording, there is going to be a gameplay preview event within the next several days. Let's see. We're recording this on a Sunday. It's happening on Wednesday. So sorry to not have that information available to you yet, but we'll definitely be getting into that a little bit in the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait. It's a May 1st event. They're going to be doing a gameplay preview event. It's going to be streamed live on the Borderlands Twitch page, and I am considering calling in sick to work that day just to watch it. I can't wait.
That may not be the worst idea. I did find out, actually, I do want to amend something on here. So it looks like it'll be simulcast both on whatever streamer is playing it on their channel, as well as the Borderlands Twitch channel, as well as the Borderlands YouTube page as well. So you'll have... So if you don't have a Twitch page or anything like that, and you want to watch on YouTube, you can totally do that also. So
awesome. I'm assuming there's going to be a VOD also, so that way we can, like that night I can come home and watch it later, right?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there's that, and then there's lots of. I mean, the cool thing is like a lot of the people that are involved in this, like a lot of the streamers, are not just like big Borderlands streamers from like the past or anything, but they're like bigger streamers in general, So that'll be
Ninja.
Really cool.
Did they get Ninja? Is he playing?
No, they did not get Ninja. So,
I am just devastated about that.
Yeah, I can hear that in your voice.
So next topic of conversation. We found out recently Troy Baker will not be returning as the voice of Reese from the Tales from the Borderlands series. He's not going to be reprising his role as Reese in Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
That came as news to us via Twitter. Troy Baker tweeted that out. There was some scuttlebutt between him and Randy Pitchford, Gearbox CEO and president and everything. Mm-hmm. It's a really... I don't know. It kind of sucks to see drama going down like this when we're all just super hyped for Borderlands 3 coming out September 13th.
Yeah, it is. We touch on it mainly just because we don't like to spread any kind of like hate or rumors or anything like that. The whole reason why we're doing this is because we like the games and we want to share stuff with other people that like the games. But at the same time, he's a very prolific figure, not only as far as what he did for the Borderlands series and the lore of it and everything like that, but as well as in the actual voiceover actor community. I mean, I'm not sure that in games there's a bigger name than Troy Baker. I mean, you could say maybe Nolan North, but that might be about it.
Yeah, yep. On a positive note, when it comes to voice actors and rumored returns, it's confirmed that Ashley Birch will be reprising her role as Tiny Tina in Borderlands 3, and that's super exciting because I mean, you can't have anybody else but Ashley Birch do that voice. I mean, her brother Anthony, who wrote Borderlands 2, basically created that character for her, Mm-hmm. And but funny enough, still had to audition for that role.
Right. But yeah, she's done a fantastic job. I mean, she nailed Tiny Tina in Borderlands 2, and she did really, really well with that. And now that we've kind of aged the game forward a little bit, or aged the series forward a little bit, and going into Borderlands 3, you can tell that it's a few years on and everything, and Tiny Tina's grown up a little bit and everything like that. And so I'm excited to see how that works and everything, especially because I'm sure that some of you know this already, but she also did the voice of Aloy in Horizon Zero Dawn and just crushed it with that. She did a fantastic job. She actually, I think, the year that came out, she actually was up for a voiceover award at I want to say it was at the Game Awards for that.
Yeah, I think she actually won it, if I remember correctly. I think so, but I could be wrong. I'm not. This is not a Horizon Zero Dawn podcast, so
no, it is not.
So don't quote me on that, and don't at me either. So
don't at him, but at him though. So,
So something I'm interested to see is I wonder if I'm really curious to see if the increase in for the increase in the timeline moving on in years, I wonder if that's matured Tiny Tina in any way, dealing with so there's a lot of newish people to the Borderlands series. I'm hoping listening to this podcast, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but like dealing with certain character deaths at the end of Borderlands, or towards the end of Borderlands 2. I wonder if that affects her personality as she gets older. I'm really curious to see what her character development is. It'd be a little disappointing to see her just being the same, 12-year-old kid or whatever.
Yeah.
Just older.
Yeah. And I can understand that. And I feel like, I mean, the thing that she was always, into was, explosions and everything like that. And I feel like she's going to get more into that and just better at her craft as she does that. But I also feel like it's going to be a situation where, I don't know, I feel like it is going to be a situation where they are going to mature her, but there's still going to be a lot of that same thing that we really love about Tiny Tina. But it will be interesting just to see how far they go with that, mainly because, it's not going to be the same writer. It's not Anthony Birch that's actually writing, Borderlands 3. So,
would you consider, if you were on the staff of Borderlands 3, would you consider having him come in as like a consultant to write lines for Tiny Tina?
Yeah. If that were me, yeah, totally. I mean, here's the thing: is that we got to understand that Borderlands 2 was Anthony Birch's first real big project that he did. So
sure.
It does lean a little heavily, and it's a little bit dated now. Even though we're talking about a game that's not super old yet. I mean, it's 6-7 years old, somewhere in there. But it was a little bit dated for the time, and it leaned a little bit heavy on referential humor, but he's done lots of other work since then, so I'm sure that he has also matured as a writer as well. So I would totally, even if it was just for that aspect of it, yeah, I would totally consider having Anthony Birch come back, even if it was just for the Tiny Tina aspect of it, or some of the other characters that, were brand new to to the Borderlands series at the time or anything like that. Like even we've been told that Handsome Jack is not coming back, but because Handsome Jack was the person for so long, between Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel and even parts of Tales from the Borderlands and everything like that, I would still consider having him write parts for Handsome Jack if he were to come back. So
yeah, I think that's a really good observation. It would just make sense, makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, absolutely.
So speaking of things that are or are not coming to Borderlands 3, Slag will not be returning in Borderlands 3, but will be replaced with a supposedly nuclear radiation effect and will function similarly to the way that caustic damage originally functioned in Borderlands 1. If you're new to the series, in Borderlands 1, caustic damage was pretty much universally helpful regardless of enemy type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the reason that he's saying that, and full disclosure, that last bit about it functioning similarly to the way that caustic damage originally functioned in Borderlands 1, that's based off of very little information that we have right now, and that's based off of my own take on that, because the way it was put out there by Randy Pitchford on Twitter was that he said that it'll function as a damage over time and also as a debuff, and that's the way he described it. And that's exactly how caustic damage worked in the first one, because what caustic damage did was it was a damage over time, and it was particularly good against armored targets and things like that. But it also meant that if you put a damage over time effect from caustic onto an enemy, that any other damage over time, like lightning or fire, that you did after that also did more damage. So it was also kind of a debuff in that way as well. So
which just makes sense as far as, I mean, I get it's a video game, but
yeah.
acid regardless is going to hurt whatever it hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So to have it work like that just makes more sense. If you're fighting an alpha skag in Borderlands 1 and you've got a pestilent defiler, and then you follow that up with a fire SMG, that thing's going down relatively quick. So, and that's to me how that mechanic should work going forward. It just makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, we got that information. The article that I read was actually from Green Man Gaming, and in the tweet that they mentioned, Randy Pitchford explained, there is no slag. We replaced it with something that actually makes a little sense.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the new element, that's in quotes, and that's the way he put it, damage type, which is nuclear radiation effect, has a similar effect to slag, increased vulnerability by those affected, and also a damage over time component.
You know what just struck me though?
What's that?
It surprises me that Randy Pitchford and I are on the same page about something. That makes me a little nervous.
Magic!
Is Randy coming to his senses, or am I slowly slipping into insanity? We're on a slippery slope here.
Yeah.
And secondly, sorry, there was one thing you said in there that struck me, and I lost it for a second.
Do you want me to read it again for you?
Yeah, please.
Okay. In a tweet, developer Gearbox's president and CEO, Randy Pitchford, explained, "There is no slag. We replaced it with something that actually makes sense. The new element," again in quotes, "damage type, which is like a nuclear radiation effect, has a similar effect to slag."
Oh, yes. Okay, I remember now. So what it is I wonder how that it'll affect the player character in negative ways.
Gotcha. Okay.
If I have a, let's just call it a nuke damage weapon, okay?
Yeah.
If I have one of those and it's on a rocket launcher, okay, and I go into an area and I blow an enemy away with that, if I run through that area, will I be affected by the radiation? Is it going to be like Fallout style effect as far as radiation and how it hurts me? I imagine it wouldn't be as extreme as Fallout to where,
right,
to where it's like a permanent detrimental thing to you. But I just wonder if it'll have like a localized area effect for, let's say, a minute.
Yeah.
Or if it'll depend on, or if it depends on the strength of the weapon or the amount of that elemental damage it's done, or if it won't affect the player character at all.
Sure.
Unless you're hit by enemies that have that same elemental weapon type.
Sure. So my personal opinion about that, and I don't want to spend too much more time on this because we do have our topic that we want to get to today. But
right.
My opinion of that is, if they do something like that where an area becomes irradiated for a little while, that they would need to make it very, very visible to the player at the time. Like it would need to be like an existing mushroom cloud or something like that irradiates.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea
for that time. And the reason is because just we want to make sure, like, the thing that Gearbox has done over the course of their games is that they always want to make sure that it's fun. They've made sure that the games are fun first. I feel like we're kind of in this weird kind of like era where games, especially games in this kind of genre where it's very focused around loot and everything like that, they have a very serious tone, and kind of casting out a large net. By what I mean by games with loot, I mean we're talking Diablo 3, even though that's an older game, but Diablo 3, we're talking Anthem, Destiny, The Division. Yeah, all these games have more serious tones, and we can see that there has usually been an underlying darker subtone with the Borderlands games all the time, but you also have characters like Face McShooty, who literally just wants you to shoot him in the face. Like, that's not serious.
And Heyo Steve. And,
yeah, and then, like, the Claptastic, Voyage DLC, which takes place entirely in Claptrap's mind. But you're also playing as Claptrap in Claptrap's mind.
Yes.
So, like, anyway, but yeah, and the reason I say that is because if you weren't able to see this visible area of effect and you just wandered into it and you just started ticking down damage, that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same exact reason why from Borderlands 1 to Borderlands 2 they just got rid of fall damage altogether. Because fall damage isn't fun. You want to be able to jump off the top of the buzzer tower and not die when you hit the ground, because that's fun.
God damn, you make me proud.
Exactly. So yeah, so that's the thing. Is like, if they do something like that, I think it's a neat idea that they could implement, but it needs to be very visual as far as being able to see that. So, right. So anyway, yeah, like I said, getting into our topic now, which Drew wrote up the majority of this one, so this is kind of his baby.
It's my baby.
All right.
Anyway. So this is for people who are getting into the Borderlands series, or people that have been playing Borderlands, specifically Borderlands 2, for a while, and maybe are struggling in parts, you're kind of getting through normal Vault Hunter mode, and maybe you're struggling a little early in true Vault Hunter mode and stuff like that. This is a guide to the best relatively basic model weapons to use. So this guide is not going to include it's no legendaries, it's no uniques, it's no pearlescence or seraphs or anything like that.
Yeah, this is unnamed, anything weapons, and we want to stress weapons specifically. We'll get into grenades and mods and all that kind of stuff another time.
Right. At this point, there's too many. It would be too much to cover all the different weapon types and class mods and grenade mods and shields. It's just, there'd be too much, so we're going to break it down into weapons this time. We'll handle the other stuff in a future episode. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with pistols, because pistols are basically able to be used by virtually any character type. Mm-hmm. I can't... Is there anybody who doesn't want to use pistols? Maybe Krieg?
No,
but even then they're useful to him.
No, not even Krieg. Like, Krieg has a lot of pistols that, he's very good at. Krieg is very good with he's very good with explosive weaponry, so like any of the Torg weapons are generally pretty good for him. He also does a lot of elemental stuff, and there's a lot of elemental weaponry in pistols that's good. So any of that is really good. So anyway,
all right. So when it comes to pistols, specifically the manufacturer that you're going to want to be looking at, in our humble opinion, is Vladoff. Vladoff is universally known as firing a hell of a lot of bullets. Okay, and specifically the types that you're going to be looking for are anarchists and troublemakers.
Yep.
So anarchists...
keeping in mind real quick, we're just talking about Borderlands 2 right now.
Yes, this is specific to Borderlands 2. We're definitely going to make up another one of these guides to Borderlands 1 later. Borderlands 2 is just our favorite out of the series, so we figured we'd start here.
Yeah.
So,
also, anything that we're saying on this is our own opinion based off of our own gameplay of the games and watching, lots of other videos and guides and things like that ourselves and everything. But, if you have a different build that you want to do for any of these kind of stuff, great, do it. Fun is fun. That's what we're aiming for. But, these are just our opinions that we've come across from our playtime with the game.
Yeah, this is a broad generalization, but a good starting point for anybody.
Right. So, anyway...
So like I said, you're looking at Vladoff, specifically anarchists and troublemakers. Anarchists will literally always come with that Vladoff rotating twin barrel, thus ensuring a high rate of fire. Unfortunately, that comes with the downside of not being exceptionally accurate, but I feel like the fire rate and magazine size make up for it. They are... really exceptionally good for Salvador and his keep firing skill, Axton and his metal storm skill, and you're right, and Krieg and his just as an example, his embrace the pain skill.
Yeah, yep. So, and you touched on something there real quick, and it's funny, but even in the games, one of the marketing things for Vladov, because you said it's not exceptionally accurate, but the fire rate and the magazine size make up for it, and that's one of their marketing things in the lore of the game, is that you don't need to be a better shot, you just need to fire more bullets, and that's exactly what you're doing. So,
right. That's exactly. I mean, that was the tagline in Borderlands 1, and it holds true in Borderlands 2.
Yep. Absolutely.
And also the pre-sequel, but we're not talking about that one today. So,
snap.
Oh, shots fired.
Shots fired.
Anyway, so secondly, if you can't find an anarchist, look for a troublemaker. Troublemakers will always come with a Torg barrel, making it a relatively high damage weapon, considering it's combined with the high fire rate of that Vladov pistols are known for.
Mm-hmm.
Be especially on the lookout for the prefix Resolute, which increases accuracy and reduces recoil. If I remember right, the Resolute just means that you get that... I don't remember which brand it is, but I want to say it's a Hyperion stock on it. It's got like the shoulder stock to the pistol. Is that right?
I think so, yeah, if I remember right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yep. So, that's, having the shoulder stock to it. So yeah.
Yeah. Lastly, both versions, the anarchist or the troublemaker. Actually, I guess that if it's a troublemaker, it's only going to have explosive elemental types. But if it's an anarchist, it can come with any elemental type or none. Any kind of element will be better than none, but none is still fine. It's totally a good gun.
Yeah, so one thing to touch on, and I'm going to be saying this a lot as we go through some of the different weapon types and everything, but with pistols, if the barrel matches the brand of the weapon, it gains additional bonus weapon damage. So, Vladov with Vladov, Torg with Torg, doesn't matter. If the barrel matches the weapon, then it gains bonus damage. And the cool thing about that is the same way on, we're not talking about them as much, but that is the same way on unique and legendary weapons too. So,
right. So that's fun. Next weapon category. Let's get into shotguns. Jeff, who's the best manufacturer of shotguns on Pandora?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question, please?
I said, who's the best manufacturer of shotguns on Pandora?
Torg!
Because Torg guns always, and I emphasize this, always have explosive damage. So we are looking specifically at Ravager, Hulk, and Pounder models.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, here's the thing, especially in an early game, it's gonna be hard for you to find me without a Torg shotgun, even if it's just for the sake of the sake of getting up off the ground. If you're being mobbed by enemies, and you're down on the ground in a fight for your life mode, I love having a Torg weapon around me just to be able to get up off the ground for it. So
yeah, I mean, if you're being swarmed by a bunch of spider ants or a bunch of midgets or what have you,
bunch of rats, bunch of psychos, whatever.
Rats are the worst.
They are.
You are more likely to be able to get up off your ass and get killing things again if you've got a Torg shotgun in your hand. So all Torg weapons across the board, not just shotguns, deal bonus explosive damage that's not listed on the item stat card. So keep that in mind if you're comparing it to some other variant of shotgun. They could have identical stats somehow, but a Torg is going to do more damage because it's got that bonus explosive damage. Ravagers are the best of the Torg shotguns, in my humble opinion. They will always come with a Torg barrel and deal the most damage among common shotguns, with accuracy being the downside. Like Jeff said, great for fight for your life mode when being mobbed. The only caveat that I have there is before you swap away from your Torg shotgun, make sure that it's fully loaded, because when you do swap to it, because you're dying, it sucks to swap to be like, oh, it's fine. I'll just swap to my shotgun. And then you're sitting there reloading forever. It's super stressful.
Yeah, it is rough times. So
rough time. So, only downside about Ravagers, they only come in rarities blue and higher. So if you're, not to gloss over it, but if you're unfamiliar with the rarity scale in Borderlands 2, it is white, green, blue, purple, orange.
Mm-hmm.
So only available at blue or higher. But that's okay, because if you can't find a Ravager, you can always try to find a Hulk. A Hulk is going to use the three-barrel bandit system barrel, and will always fire 13 pellets at the cost of 3 ammo per shot, and is available at green rarity and above.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not quite as good as the Ravager, because as you will see across the board, regardless of weapon type, if the barrel matches the weapon manufacturer, you're going to have increased damage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and at the bottom of the list here, we have Pounders, which, not great. I'll be honest, not great. But it's still going to be very helpful in very early game situations. Pounders use the Jacobs barrel and use 2 ammo per shot. They are suitable at white rarity, but if you get a chance, upgrade to a Hulk or a Ravager when you're able to do so.
Yeah, like listen, so like Pounders are like the Wendy's of the Torque shotgun world. It's like it's not the worst one you could have at the moment.
Wow, why you got to do that? Wendy's Twitter is going to put us on blast now.
Dude, they put everyone on blast. That'll just get us more notoriety. Like this is
that's true.
That's shut up. You're giving it all away. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, just like it's good for what it is. You can definitely find better, but if you can't, this works just fine. So that's kind of the way it is. So like it is not the Five Guys that the Ravager is. Like,
we ain't going to Smashburger with a pounder, but whatever. It's acceptable. So
waiting for all the hate from all the In-N-Out Burger people now. Like,
whatever.
Anyway,
Westerners. Anyways, so next weapon category, we're going to take a look at probably one of my favorite weapon types is sniper rifles.
Love
Jeff,
sniper rifles.
Right? It's I almost always find myself gravitating towards a character that has buffs to sniper rifles.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the first character that I ever played through in Borderlands 1 was Mordecai. First character I played through in Borderlands 2 was Zero. And I imagine that the first one I play in Borderlands 3 is going to be, it might be, I was thinking it's going to be Flak, but it could be, what is his name? I already forgot.
Could be who now?
The other guy, the assassin.
Oh, Zane.
Zane, thank you.
Yeah.
But anyways, so Jeff, who are we looking at for a sniper rifle manufacturer?
It's give me a hint. It's only going to take one shot.
It is going to take only one shot. It's Jacobs.
Yes.
Jacobs is the best manufacturer of sniper rifles on Pandora. Are they located on Pandora? They are.
Yep. So.
Yeah, okay. So, specifically, we're looking at the Muck-a-Muck and Chinook variants.
Can I stop you just for a second and put this out there for anyone? Because we don't know. We could probably research it, but that takes time. If you know what any of the prefixes for the Jacob stuff, or what any of the Jacob stuff means, can you hit us up on Twitter? Anything like that? Just let us know. Like Muck-Muck or Chinook or Sia or any of that
actually,
kind of stuff.
I looked into that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them, they are actual original Native American words, most of them from the Chinook tribes. I can't remember specifically what they are, but yeah, you can look it up. You can look it up along with most of the other information that we get at borderlands.fandom.com.
Yeah, which is Which for anyone else, like, that's just the wiki. If you also just type in Borderlands wiki, that just comes up. So,
So, like I said, we're looking at the Muck and Chinook variants. Not a surprise here. The Muck variant uses a Jacob's barrel and therefore do incredible damage and among the highest accuracy common weapons in the game. The lowest version that I've seen is a 96.4 for the Chickaman variant. I don't care who you are. 96.4 is stupid accurate.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. Again, when we're talking like early game, like, very first playthrough kind of stuff, it doesn't matter what your character build is going to be around in like 20 or 25 levels or anything like that. If you can pick off, enemies with like a skill, like one skill active, and have it do incredible damage just based off the weapon alone, great, perfect. Then do that.
Right. I mean, even have you ever seen a Sniper Axton build?
No, I can't say that I ever have, actually.
Me either, but if I'm early game and I've got a point in impact, which does additional gun damage and melee damage, but that's not relevant, but it does additional gun damage, and I have some type of Jacob sniper rifle, and I'm critting things from forever away, I'm probably doing all right,
Yeah, it's accurate. You trick me.
Yeah.
You got me with exactly what you wanted me to say, because I literally never had seen a nice sniper build. You're like, yeah, that's right, you haven't.
That's right, and you ain't gonna. I mean, we might someday, just to get crazy with it.
Right.
I'm actually kind of excited. I want to do that now.
To that one guy that's out there that plays Sniper Accident, hit me up on Twitter. I want to ask you a couple
right.
things.
Shout out to you. You do you, boo. So, anyways, so the other variant that we want to look at besides Muck is Chinook. Chinook is also acceptable since it uses a Hyperion barrel and thus leads to really good accuracy, yet slightly lower damage per shot than a Muck.
Mm-hmm.
For example, a level 8 Sia Muck, which is a green rarity, is going to do 129 damage per shot, approximately, as opposed to a level 8 Hayu Chinook, which only does 93 damage per shot. Right. And when you get those critical damage multipliers, that can make a huge difference. Oh. That's the difference between one-shotting or two-shotting something.
Yeah, and especially, again, going into early game and everything like that, especially with sniper rifles, because even when you're maxed out in the game, you still don't get as many sniper rifle bullets as I would like. But like, especially in early game, you're really going to want to hold on to that ammo and use it, only when necessary.
Right, definitely. So I like to use sniper rifles as Zero, which is not a surprise because he's the assassin class in Borderlands 2. It's also really fun to use sniper rifles when playing as Maya, especially against, in my opinion, tanky style mobs and bosses that are still able to be phase locked. You phase lock something from forever away and then, unload into their dome. You're probably going to be okay.
Yeah. So, it's really, really good for that on Maya. Again, and I know I keep on referencing this, but, you get into early game, you get your phase lock right away, you phase lock a bigger or a badass enemy or something like that, and then you just start pounding away right on its critical spot, and whatever, and you're good. It helps out a ton. So, that does bring us to our next point, though, which is that with the Jacob stuff, and this shouldn't be surprising because we're only talking about Borderlands 2, but there are no elemental versions of that ever. Unless you're actually modding it into the game, it's just not going to happen. So,
right.
But if you're just looking for straight damage, then by all means go with Jacobs. If you really, 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 really want that elemental damage, then, Maliwan or Vladov are not a bad option. Personally, I would take Vladov just because of the higher fire rate. You're almost got a high damaging, high accuracy, slower firing, assault rifle kind of a situation. So,
right.
Anyway, but if you do want elemental stuff, then might I recommend you to our next part about SMGs.
SMGs! So, when it comes to SMGs, our favorite manufacturer is Maliwan. However, I would say that if you can find an E-Tech, that would probably be E-Tech's not technically a manufacturer, so Malawan is the winner here, but if you can find an E-Tech, I would rather have that.
Correct.
So E-Techs are, E-Tech SMGs specifically are known as plasma casters and are awesome. In particular, the Malawan and Hyperion versions. I swear, if I find out that somebody found a Malawan plasma caster that was on level and you passed it over, just unsubscribe from this podcast right now. I don't even want to talk to you no more. All right?
Go straight Mulan on them. Dishonor on your family, dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no reason, there's not a single character build that can't use a Malawan plasma caster if it's on level, because you're going to benefit from slightly faster projectile speed and accuracy, and it will always be elemental, and you will always have a reason to have some version of some element.
Yes.
Hyperion plasma casters are also good, but they're only going to increase your accuracy, but there's nothing wrong with that. It's nothing to sniff at. If you can't hit what you're shooting, it doesn't matter anyways.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't get your hands on a Malawan plasma caster, Malawan SMGs are the way to go for just straight up pure elemental frenzy.
Mm-hmm.
The Submalevolent Grace SMG is acceptable. Hey, gonna get an SMG. Sounds like you got OCD or something. The Submalevolent Grace is acceptable and comes in any variant except explosive. However, finding the specific model for the element that you want is better, in my personal opinion. Jeff, you want to take us through those elemental types for Malawans?
Yeah, so the elemental types that you're going to be looking at are Provocateur for fire, Venom for corrosion, Vexation for shock, and Revenant for slag. It's nice to be able to go ahead and just pick them out like that right away, because certain builds for certain characters will obviously want certain things. Maya, obviously, she's just geared towards pretty much anything elemental, so you're able to use whatever you want based on situation. Obviously, fire for fleshy enemies, corrosion for armored enemies, and then Vexation for shields, and everything like that. But I mean, like Drew said earlier, there's no character that's gonna not benefit from these at some point along the line. So Krieg is going to do great with the Provocateurs. He also does
right,
really
because
well.
he's got a lot of synergy with fire weapons in his Hellborn tree, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. So, and then the same thing with corrosion. He actually does a fair amount of stuff for that. You can build a shock trooper class mod, or a shock trooper class around accident if you want to do that. You can also do a shock build with gauge. So I mean, there's just all sorts of options for those. And then honestly, slag is never a bad option in Borderlands 2. As much as we ragged on it at the beginning and are glad that it's kind of going away because it became a crutch in later game and everything, slag is going to be super helpful no matter where you're at in the game, just because, slag an enemy, especially a boss that you're having a tough time with, and then light them up with another element.
Yeah, definitely.
So, really, and again, really, really good, specifically with Maya's flicker skill, and as Drew said earlier, there's a ton of synergy with anything fire, and higher fire rate, more fire damage weapons in Krieg's Hellborn tree, so...
Right. Okay, so that takes us to our next weapon type, assault rifles, which we are going to skip because they're totally useless in Borderlands 2. Moving on.
Let's go.
Yeah. No. For real, like, assault rifles are probably my least favorite weapon type in Borderlands 2. They're just generally not necessary. Whatever an assault rifle can do, there's other weapons that can do those things better.
Yeah,
it's just the most middle of the road weapon class in the game.
Yeah, and not to mention there are a couple of bugs with the way that assault rifles work, but we're gonna let Drew talk about his part of it first, and then we'll get into that a little bit. So, but yeah.
All right, so
generally, what we're saying. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like,
no, that's all right.
Generally, what we're saying is that anything that an assault rifle can do whatever you're looking for it to do. I'll say there's some other weapon type that will be able to do it better generally.
Yeah, for example, if you're like, oh, assault rifle, it's got to have high fire rate. Yeah, you're not wrong, but you're generally going to be able to find pistols and SMGs that have a higher fire rate. And you're like, well, an assault rifle, it's got to have a decent amount of damage. Yeah, that's sort of true, but shotguns and sniper rifles are definitely going to pack a bigger punch.
Right. Yeah, it's just hard to find that good balance for it. I mean, in all the builds that I've done on Borderlands 2, I can think of one where I use one assault rifle, and that's a unique one, and it's also a moxie weapon, so it also heals me at the same time. So there's a lot going on with that made me choose that one in particular with that build. So anyway, continue.
Right. That being said, if you come across a dull carbine assault rifle, it's probably worth it to pick it up.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Please don't turn off the podcast. Just listen for a second.
Yeah, hold on. Wait, no. Just give me a second. Listen. So, unsurprisingly, at this point, if you've been paying attention, Dahl is the manufacturer, and a carbine is going to come with a Dahl barrel. Therefore, it's going to have increased damage and accuracy, as well as reduced recoil. The carbine also increases the normal zoomed burst that Dahl weapons are known for from 3 to 5. And that's not bad. It's really not. It can be quite useful, especially if you pair it with Zero's skills Optics and Kill Confirmed. Optics does it has increased zoom and aim steadiness when looking down a sight. And what was the other one? Kill Confirmed does increased critical hit damage depending on how long you aim down the sights. Mm-hmm. So that can be pretty useful, actually.
Yeah, and one thing to note too is that if the grip of your assault rifle matches the brand of the weapon, it gains additional bonus reload speed and magazine size increases, which is kind of nice. So if you do get a Dahl, you will be sacrificing a little bit of weapon damage. Okay, admittedly, but you'll have bonus reload speed, bigger magazine size, and then the natural things that a Dahl grip gives you, which is reduced recoil and faster recoil recovery. So you are going to be more accurate on that as well.
Right. So that's pretty much all we got on assault rifles. Last weapon category is rocket launchers. Unsurprising here. The best rocket launcher manufacturer is Torg.
So, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So specifically, we're looking at the DERP and D variants. And if you haven't played Borderlands 2 and you don't know what I'm talking about, just look. All right, when you're playing Borderlands 2 and you're looking at Torg rocket launchers, you'll think that I don't sound as dumb, because that's how you pronounce it, all right? They're derps and Ds, okay?
The best part is the prefixes on them turn into gunkadas and things like that. So you'll literally have a gunkada D or a gunkada derp.
Right. So derps come with, unsurprisingly, Torg barrels and do stupid high damage. Downside is slow-moving rockets, not great accuracy, and relatively low reload speed. And y'all are probably thinking, well, slow-moving, poorly accurate, and slowly reloading rockets sounds awful. But it so much makes up for it, considering how much damage it does. Mm-hmm. And because of that, it's awesome, paired with overkill skills like Salvador's no-kill like overkill and Krieg's thrill of the kill.
Yeah.
Which benefit from the excessive amount of damage that you're going to do with those rocket launchers.
Yeah. That being said, and I'm going to get into this again real quick, and we've said this before, if the barrel matches the brand of the weapon, it gains bonus weapon damage. And again, this is a pretty common theme throughout the weapons, and the same thing. I didn't mention this when we were talking about it with the assault rifles, but the same thing with the grip. If the grip matches the brand of the weapon, it gains additional bonus reload speed and a magazine size increase. So I'm not sure if you'd ever find it, but hypothetically, let's say that you had let's say that you had a perfect Torg rocket launcher. So great. So you've got a Torg rocket launcher. They already do good damage. Okay, you get a Torg barrel on it. So now you're getting that additional bonus weapon damage from the matching parts. And Torg does greatly increased weapon damage at the cost of accuracy, recoil, reload speed, and missile speed as well. But if you get the Torg grip as well, then you're going to be getting that bonus reload speed and the mag size increase, as well as weapon damage.
Bonus weapon damage
from the grip itself, at the cost of accuracy, reload speed, and increased recoil. If you get a Torg exhaust, you get increased weapon damage at the cost of fire rate. So, as weird as this sounds, the same way that we were talking about Vladoff with pistols, we're going the exact opposite direction with Torg. It's like, all right, you may not be able to get very many shots off, but it doesn't matter if you kill literally everything.
Right. It's, the frustrating thing is like when it is, if there's just so much going on and you can't find something to shoot at, just start shooting. Just turn your reticle until it turns red and let that thing fly.
Yep.
Probably going to be okay.
Yeah. One thing I want to highly, highly stress is whatever you're doing, no matter what rocket launcher you get, please avoid, when you're looking at the exhaust, which is the back part of the rocket launcher, please avoid TDR at all costs. Because TDR does absolutely nothing. It literally does nothing. And I mean, like, nothing. So it doesn't increase anything.
Not like we're not getting all, this is not hyperbole here. It literally does stone nothing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Torg does the weapon damage on the exhaust. Vladoff does fire rate. Bandit does magazine size. Molly 1 does missile speed. TDR does literally nothing. So if you see that big square exhaust on the back of your rocket launcher, check yourself.
Run away!
Yeah. So
just hold out. You'll find another rocket launcher, especially when you're trying to open a chest and find something sick. You'll be like, oh, rocket launcher, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Especially when you're running some build that doesn't need them. So the second variant of the Torg rocket launcher that you can look at is the D, and that's going to come with a Vladoff barrel and benefits from increased fire rate and projectile speed, but decreased accuracy, making it suitable for mainly medium-range targets.
Yeah. So, yep. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what we have for that. Again, hope you found this helpful. We're definitely going to cover grenade mods, shields, class mods, all that kind of stuff. The reason we're not doing that here is because a lot of those kind of things, more so than the guns themselves, are dependent on your personal playstyle, your level, your skills, your character, everything like that. So, the guns are more something where what we're recommending to you are things that we feel are going to benefit just about any player.
Right.
Right.
Like we said, regardless of who you are, if you find a Vladoff anarchist, you could probably run it. If you could find a Torg rocket launcher, you could probably run it. They're just generally universally the best versions of these common weapons.
Yeah. If you run up against if you find a dull assault rifle, stop it. Get some help. But
yeah. So in summation, though, all weapons in Borderlands are at their best when they have matching parts. Barrels are typically going to increase the qualities that brand is known for, and grips across the board increase reload speed and magazine size. So, first of all, if you ever find a perfect matching weapon, post it to our Twitter account. We want to see that. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah, that we say don't at me, but at me with that though. Like
at me so hard with that. So yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for that topic. One last little note here is if you have been confused for the whole duration of this conversation and you have no idea what these parts look like or anything, or you didn't even know that these weapons come with different parts, we're going to post a link in the show notes to an injure page, I believe, or to or maybe that post on the Steam community where it covers all of the weapon types and all of the weapon parts, so you can have a nice, easy reference to know exactly what you're getting into.
Yep, absolutely. So if you want, like a visual of kind of how they react and everything like that too, there are several different several different guides on YouTube as to what this actually looks like and things like that. So, but again, other people I'm sure have different opinions about it. That's great because we encourage fun and everyone should be able to play according to their own play style. These are just what we've found and we've discussed after our own experiences with the game and how we like to do things. So.
Right, exactly. So that wraps up our conversation on the weapon guide. So let's go ahead and get into our very last topic of the day. I'm not sure what we're going to call this segment yet, but what we're going to do is on every show we're going to cover it. We're going to cover one either unique or legendary or seraph or pearlescent weapon per episode. So this episode, we're going to start off the series with the Skullmasher.
Yep.
We're going to do just like a 5-minute deep dive on this specific weapon, and that's what we're going to do at the end of every episode.
Yep. So, and when we say that we're covering a weapon, we are covering each weapon in separate games. The Skullmasher has been in, I think the Skullmasher has actually been in all 3 games, right? Borderlands 1,
yes,
2, and
correct.
the pre-sequel. Yeah, one of the very few weapons to actually do that. But we're just going to be covering the Borderlands 2 version right now, although this probably works very, very similarly in the pre-sequel, I would imagine.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So, to begin with, the Skullmasher, what is it? It's a legendary sniper rifle manufactured by Jacobs. No surprise here that one of our favorite weapons in the game is a Jacobs sniper rifle.
Mm-hmm.
It shoots 5 projectiles at the cost of 1 round. Each projectile has decreased damage. Okay, so 1 trigger pull, you're going to get 5 shooty bits. I mean, I don't know how else to
five shooty mans.
I don't know how else to word projectiles.
Pellets.
It's like,
yeah.
I mean, so pull and it's bang, bang, bang. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works. Mm-hmm. Like Jeff said, it was originally in Borderlands 1 and shot 6 projectiles that were actually faster, which is really nice. But still, this one's a really great weapon.
Yeah.
Relatively low accuracy for a sniper rifle, which is a little frustrating. It's usually somewhere in the mid-80s, somewhere between 82 and 88-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and mainly the reason that is because, they're treating it more like a shotgun, so it has the accuracy similar to exactly what it is, which is a sniper rifle shotgun, essentially. It would be like, for anyone that's out there that does any kind of hunting or anything like that, a slug, if you're shooting a shotgun, a slug is going to be accurate, whereas birdshot is not. You're trying to throw out essentially a big net with birdshot or anything like that, as opposed to a slug where you're trying to hit something very accurately, and that's just what this is emulating.
Right. So now imagine that you take a shotgun that's loaded with deer slug, but there's 5 slugs in that one shotgun shell. That's right. Like stacked up. It's good. It's like pow pow pow. That's how it works.
Right. Yep, exactly. So it's really nice. I mean, we've talked about a couple of different builds for sniper rifles, anything like that. Any character that uses a sniper rifle is generally going to get some use out of this. Maybe not as much use on Maya as some of the other ones, because generally at endgame, when you start getting these legendary and unique weapons, you're gonna want to stick to her elemental build in some form or fashion, specifically because things like Reaper, which is a great skill to have for anything like that. Reaper does increase damage to enemies that are above 50% of their health, and this would be great with that understandably, but you've already gotten into a couple of her elemental skills going into that previously, so you might be better off with something else that does elemental damage, like one of the Vladoff legendaries, like the Lyuda or something like that, or something along those lines. So yeah, that's, like I said, Zero, this is going to work great on. Like I said, if you're, again, to that one guy out there that's doing that accident sniper build, more power to you. Get on it. So
hit me up. Let me know.
Yes.
I got to talk to you.
So, but yeah, I think something is just that it's a cool looking gun as well.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, it is. So, yeah, to expand upon what Jeff's talking about, you can actually use the Skullmasher and have Axton's builds, an Axton build benefit from it. His skills like Impact or Battlefront or Duty Calls, like they're all going to be. It's going to make an already awesome weapon punch even harder. And lastly, with Salvador, his skills that you're going to want to be running if you're, for some reason, looking to do a Salvador Skullmasher build, I guess. You're going to want
to put points.
Dope. It's like one of those, like, man, that sounds hella dope. I don't think I'm going to do it. That just sounds weird.
yeah, exactly. To that one guy that's doing that Salvador sniper build, that is up on Twitter.
yeah, for sure. So if you're running a Salvador Skullmasher build, put points into Money Shot, Lay Waste, and No Kill Like Overkill. And if you're running Krieg, I guess Thrill of the Kill, but that's all I can come up with. And Jeff, tell us all about Gage's Sniper Skullmasher build.
Gage, shoot at the ground.
Information, don't do that. Don't do that.
So basically, since that is what this is, if you really want to, to that one guy on Twitter that's using the Gage Skullmasher build, hit me up.
Right. I mean, and at some point we're gonna have to do these, though, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm aware.
And talk about them on the show.
I
can't
aware.
wait for that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, basically, here's the thing: is that it's one of those things where, yes, I understand that if you're using Age, you're probably running a ton of Anarchy, and you're going to be hitting, way harder at the expense of a ton of accuracy. However, I really want to find out now what happens if you get a Skullmasher and you just shove that right up somebody's nose with Gage with 500 stacks of Anarchy.
Oh yeah, that's how you do it. Oh my god, yes. That's super exciting now.
Yeah, use it like a shotgun, like you would on Gage. And I'm really curious to see about that. Just don't reload. Just be careful about that. Don't. We don't do that here.
Right. That's really interesting. So, lastly, where to get the Skullmasher, obviously, any suitable loot source. Technically, you could open up a dumpster and find a Skullmasher. It's not very likely. So, if you're looking specifically for one, you can farm Son of Mothrak in the Wilderness Exploitation Preserve and Rakanoth in Scylla's Grove, which is in the Sir Hammerlock's Big Game Hunt DLC.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, but yeah, I would recommend probably getting it from Rakanoth in Scylla's Grove. It just seems like it's not as difficult of a fight, personally.
And I feel like it's a little easier to get to, also.
Yeah, yep, it is a little bit easier to get to because otherwise, without grenade jumping and all kinds of crazy stuff, to get back to Son of Mothrak, you have to go all the way around and everything, and it's a whole.
I mean, if you're lucky, you can farm, Pomone and Tumba along the way. And if you're new to this, yeah, I said that right. It's not. I didn't get those messed up. It's Pomone and Tumba. You could, I guess, try to farm them along the way, and if you're later game, you can farm some chubbies and whatever too. So
yeah, you can also definitely farm the the loot midgets in the boxes for doctor's orders along the way too. You can do all these things. It's just if you're looking for specifically this, maybe this isn't your best option.
Right. I agree.
So
I think that takes us to the end of episode 1. This has been a Vault Hunter's Guide to the Borderlands. At this point, we're planning on doing this semi-weekly or bi-weekly. I don't know. Every 2 weeks, all right? Yeah. That's how often we're going to be doing this. unless we get huge support, and then who knows? Maybe someday we could do it weekly. But that's down the road. Right now, we're just trying to make every episode as good as it possibly can be. And we hope that you enjoyed it, and we look forward to bringing you episode 2 in 2 weeks. Yep, Jeff, you got anything else?
Nope. In the meantime, to all of our fellow Vault Hunters out there, we will see you in the Borderlands.
All right, man. And everybody, good luck and good drops, and we'll see you next time.